Hi, it's David, and I'm going to play you a short snippet, or you can call it a really short thriller, into our first ever audio drama from What's Podcasting. Oh, what's it with this one?
Bro, I'm fine now. What you doing now, guy? I don't do it after school. Like, no. I don't see that. It's a Daniel Sky here, guy. Like, you can see Sky.
I don't lose. I just want to do one corner high, make her cry small.
Our students, you don't reach your school. I mean this one, maybe your post stop again. You'll be student again.
Do you mind if I
Thank you. Well, please, can I know your name? What's your name?
Alisa, my name is Alisa. Amanda.
Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Musa Obed podcast. I'm so excited today because I have Blessing Abeng with me. She's been so nice from the first time. I actually sent a message like a while ago on LinkedIn, and I was like, okay, yeah, Blessing is not responding. Then one day she did, and here we are today. So thank you so much, Blessing, for being here.
My pleasure. God, I have a really bad habit of responding to my LinkedIns once a month. I should probably fix that so that I don't lose out on opportunities. But it was such a great invite, and you were really thoughtful with how you invited me. So I had no choice. I had to say yes.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you for telling me that, because then I now have a template. Thank you.
I know, working everyone.
Connection 1, 2, 3. From here, you can start connecting.
All right. So Blessing, I want to know your story first of all. I'm sure a lot of people know you for branding, but before we go into your branding, I want to know basically like how you grew up. I know you were born in Jos. I want to know, like, did you grow up in Jos? Did you move? Primary school, secondary school. What was life like then?
Oh, that's thoughtful. Well, yes, I was born in Jos. In the seasons when it used to be really, really cold, how you would like boil your hot water and literally have to use it almost immediately because it was that cold. But we moved, I think, in 1999. Yeah, I think we moved to Abuja in 1999. And back then, Abuja wasn't really developed in 1999. Like, you'd still see a lot of block industries. That's what they were called back then. You see like all these cement places where they're molding blocks because a lot of people were doing a lot of development. Back then, women used to go around with their husbands selling fura and you like from a calabash and stuff. So it was just really, that was the time, that I moved to Abuja. And growing up was pretty interesting. My mom said I started talking at a very early age, and they had to take me to school. Apparently, there was a school. Everybody always asks me about my primary school, but nobody really wants to know about before my primary school. Before my primary school was really fun because.
Do you remember before your primary school?
See, there was a school opposite my house, or like really close to the house.
Where were you guys staying?
I can't remember where in Jos, but there was a school close to the house, and you could hear the students sort of read out the, like, different things, assembly times. You could just really hear it. And so one time my mom said that I was just crying that I wanted to go to school. I wasn't of age to go to school, but my mom said I was crying that I really wanted to go to school. So I think we ran into one of the teachers or the principal. I don't know who. Headmistress. We ran into the headmistress. And she was like, oh, yeah, I could just come for one of the classes and stuff. So I went, I sat down. I was the tiniest person in class. And I was just really happy to learn. And that really explains why I just really enjoy learning stuff. I don't necessarily have to use it for anything. I just really enjoy learning stuff. But fast forward to my primary school days. Primary school was fun. I think I got a double promotion twice.
Wow.
But my dad never really let me take the double promotion because he was just always scared that I was really tiny and I will always be the tiniest in class and all of that. I only took like one double promotion out of actually 3. I got 3 double promotions, but I only took one. Yeah. From nursery 2 to primary 1. My dad didn't let me from nursery 3 to primary 2. My dad didn't let me, but he did let me from primary 4 to 6. I would often be like first position and all of that. I was a smart kid. And it was normal. Like it was also.
Plus, do you know what? I watched your TED talk. I think the one whereby you were talking about the inventions, right? The pitch I gave you. And I can remember you saying it's not like I'm a smart people, and I was like, let's see.
No, I'm smart. Like people think I didn't do medicine because I'm not smart, but no, that's not the reason. I was smart enough to do medicine. I just that it stopped being the thing that I wanted to pursue. And which is one of my biggest things that I tell people, like, it's okay to change your mind. If we chronicle every single year that we were born and someone was asking us, what do you want to be when we grow up? I'm sure the answers would have changed depending on the influences that we had. There are going to probably be times where we're going to be like, I want to be the next Oprah. I want to be this. I want to be president. I want to be like, we go through different phases where we're trying to decide, what that's going to be. And because I was a smart kid, I think my family, extended and nuclear, struggled with, my dad was clear, and my mom was pretty clear, but people outside of my nuclear family just sort of struggled with knowing what I should be when I grow up. And they just always thought, because I was really smart and talented, I should be a doctor. Oh no, I should be a lawyer. Oh no, I should be like, everybody had their own ideologies of what I should have been. But I want to say that I'm really grateful to my family because they allowed me explore my passion. I danced, I acted, I did plays in school. I did essays and won. I remember like winning 40 cartons of Indomie back then because I did an Indomie essay and it was really amazing. I probably got a scholarship twice. I did mathematics competitions and I won as well. So like, it was really difficult to place me because this is the girl who's also winning literature things, essays, dance competitions, but also winning science stuff, chess competitions, things like that. So it was really a very diverse background. But I've always been clear. At that time, I was always clear that I wanted to do medicine. And my dad would fuel it. He'll buy me like medical toys, lab coats. He bought me a computer one time. Like so it was really cool. But moving on to secondary school. Sorry,
Blessing. So the primary school was in Abuja, correct?
Yes, it was.
Do you remember the name?
Oh yes. So I transferred from, I think I changed schools twice in Abuja, but the primary school that I remember the most is Shining Star College. There was a primary school before the college, but I went from the primary school into the college. And so a lot of my classmates, we sort of grew up together up until secondary school days. And that was really cool just to see that I knew you were a baby. Now I know you now as an adult and a teenager or whatever. So that's really nice. But so at the point of choosing courses between science and arts, I had chosen science because like in my family, we had already decided I was going to be a doctor.
Okay.
But then my art teacher wasn't having it because I represented the school for so many arts projects. I was in debate club, I was in dance club, I was in drama club. He just couldn't understand how he would lose such a talented, I'm really not trying to blow my trumpet. Are you a woman? I'm like, yes, I'm a woman. That kind of thing. It was just like that. Yeah. And then he marched to the principal's office and was like, no, there's no way that I'm just going to do science courses. And so the HOD of science and the HOD of arts went back and forth, and then they came to an agreement that I was going to do both. So I just had to choose per time. So I ended up taking literature, fine arts, and some other interesting things.
How was that experience? Because I in my school, in Faith Academy, Goshen, that was not allowed. How exactly was that for you?
I don't think it was allowed in this school as well, but
oh wow!
But it was just like an exception that was made for me, because I know you have to choose between geography and literature.
Yes.
So I picked literature instead of geography.
Okay.
But I would do chemistry and physics. And like just exactly, I know it was really wild. I
Well, I'm really thinking in terms of like the class schedules, because in ours, like it was a class. Sometimes when there's physics classes, the teacher there, you're also having like your literature classes. So how did you even manage, or did they change the schedule to adjust to you? That
No,
would
really.
be
I
mad.
don't think they changed it. I don't know that they changed it. I wasn't privy to that information if they did.
Okay.
I don't think they did. But
Okay.
I was very used to juggling stuff. So it's possible that I would have attended half a class here and half a class there, or I would miss one class and join another class, or maybe the subjects weren't really clashing for me. For example, I wasn't taking geography, but most times our geography class was mostly with literature. And if there was a scenario where something else was clashing, I would most likely just take permission. Like I would communicate with the teachers, and they did make accommodations and adjustments for me. Same thing happened with the clubs that I was part of. Most times you'd be having drama club and jet club at the same time, or debate club and this club at the same time. But I was always able to catch up and just always know my reading, or catch up with the lecturer or teacher later, and we would have a conversation and we'll figure it out. So I think I can at least agree that my teachers were very accommodating. They're very, very accommodating. But yeah, so that's how I survived.
The question, I'm an art student. I'm a pure art student. So, let's try and settle this from somebody that has done it. Do you prefer the arts or the science?
You see, this is the issue with my whole life. I can't say what I prefer. I do understand that my preferences may have been skewed based on teachers rather, based on the teachers at the time. But I really loved my chemistry teacher. Like he was somebody who really loved to teach, and you can tell the difference. He really loved to teach. I liked my literature teacher as well. Maybe not because of the teacher specifically, but I really liked literature. And I like how it was taught to me, but I really like literature. I also loved that the teachers that I really liked, the teachers I find that I liked the most, were the teachers that encouraged me to ask questions in class and could handle it. So if I would ask a question, you're not necessarily going to shut me down and be like, oh, that's just how it is. I liked, and at that time, I was really lucky to have teachers who were really, really passionate. So my literature teacher would give us context for like Galileo and why exactly that happened. And then my chemistry teacher, he would make us just do stuff for effect. My maths teacher, I was studying maths textbooks that were above my level. I was even doing further maths before further maths became a course that I had to take. And so I would sometimes have questions that would keep me up at night. And then there's this other really smart kid in class called Odiaka. And sometimes we would try to figure things out together. And if we couldn't, we'll take it to the teacher. And so maybe teachers also really liked that they had students who challenged them as well. But I really enjoyed different facets of science and arts. But my favorite was mathematics. Okay.
Why maths?
I don't know. Maybe it was about the problem solving, the idea that it's never really straightforward and there's always a solution. You just have to figure it out. And if you know the formula, it most like it would be easier for you to figure out. You just have to know what formula applies to what. And then there are always different ways to the answer. It doesn't have to be one way. I think now when I think about how I approach problem solving in my adult life, it's knowing that problems are solvable. You just need to know the formula, or you just need to know the way to go about it. And sometimes you would do a route to the answer, but you can walk back and figure out why. You can ask yourself questions and figure it out. It also probably is the reason why I also like to systemize my success. If I achieve a level of success at something, in anything at all, I like to walk backwards and ask myself, okay, how did I do this? What were the key ingredients that led to this? Can I replicate it again? Is it repeatable? Because I don't like one hit success. I like repeatable success. I like to be able to say, okay, this is the formula, and then you can pass that on, which is why recipes are great, I really like math.
I think you like a lot of subjects, but okay, that's.
You never hear somebody talk about school like this, right?
No, I'm just imagining like your classmate self, because you sound like the kind of person that's very Like in class, I asked a lot of questions too in class. But I was in the art class, of course. I loved literature so much. But I'm just imagining you're on the two sides. Like, how did your friends try and understand you? Like, how did you even balance your friendship on the two sides? I don't know. It just
Ironically, I was also really
dynamic.
social. I was also really social as well. So I don't really think that they thought about it like that. I don't think we did. I don't think they thought about it from that point. Maybe they did, but they didn't share with me. In classes where it was getting boring, maybe, for example, agriculture. Oh my God, my agri teacher, if you're listening to this, I'm sorry. But if like agriculture was getting boring, people could literally nudge me or pass notes to me in class that I should ask a question to confuse the teacher.
Oh,
so that was also my job. I was also sometimes class prefect because I was a noisemaker.
Okay.
So that was a good balance. And then the students really, I mean, there were students that liked me because I would bring contraband for boarding house students. It was a day and boarding school combined. Okay. So sometimes I could bring contraband and share in class. I was pretty sociable, right? So maybe that aspect didn't make them feel so disconnected from me. We also would find other middle grounds. Maybe we would do choreographies together. Like if I wasn't the school wasn't that big. The class wasn't big as well. We're like 30 something max in class. So we had that extra relationship where nobody was really a stranger to anyone. We sometimes knew each other's parents. We gisted. We had other interests. I had a particular friend. We used to read novels together and we used to compete reading novels together. I had a separate friend who we used to scribble stuff together. I had a friend where we used to write novels and exchange our novels that we've written with each other so we could read and give feedback. So we had like different dynamics of friendship. I had friends that I did the choreographies and dances with. I had people who were in drama club. This was just very dynamic. There were also people that we will organize parties together. I mean, good parties, not necessarily like parents nerve-wracking parties. But yeah, so it was just a very diverse crowd and I was pretty sociable. So maybe that they would always remind them that can't you be like Blessing? Why did you, like Blessing took second? Does Odiaka have two heads? Why are you letting him take first in this subject? Why can't you do da-da-da-da? You know, like my parents didn't even used to look at my mathematics report card because math, I'll be fine. But okay, what about this other subject and that other subject? But Odiaka was facing the same thing in his house. I think it's an African parent thing. Really.
Wow.
Because like his dad would be, why are you letting this girl beat you and come first? I mean, that's what he told me back then as well. So I'm just explaining that we probably all went through what kids go through. And it wasn't that, I don't think it was that unique or special. There's only one person that I can beat my chest and vouch for that. I'm sure her parents didn't compare her because her parents were more very, I don't know how to explain them. They were different. And they treated her differently. She loved Naruto. She was a tomboy. She was like, her parents weren't on her neck all the time. They probably had like the coolest. That's where we used to go and chill and hang out with the parents to take care of us, all of that. They were more open compared to the rest of our families. But it was really nice. And I'm really grateful for my classmates from back in the day, really.
Nice. Did any of them transition to CU with you, or it was just you?
That is something I've never thought about. I don't remember that I had a classmate from school. No, I don't think I remember anybody. Because, you know, university is really big and like our 30 people class, there's different departments, you can have like, over 1,000 people in 100 level. So I would think that the answer would be no. The answer is most likely no.
All right. And why did you choose CU, by the way?
Well, because I wanted to study medicine.
Okay.
I was out here trying to be a neurosurgeon.
Oh, okay. Ben Carson, okay.
I hear you. And my dad, back then, actually, one of my bigger motivations was just that we didn't have enough neurosurgeons in Nigeria. And I really liked Grey's Anatomy at the time as well. I could relate to Christina Yang.
Okay.
And the things that I saw in Grey's Anatomy, where I'm like, the brain is just such an important part of the human body. Why, like, you could literally be brain dead and give you, because your organs are still alive. Like, that's one of the scenarios where your organs are still alive, but you're dead.
Okay.
And it was just fascinating, like how much power the brain had. So that's something I was really interested in. But my dad, for me to effectively, obviously, do neurosurgery, I would have had to study abroad. But my dad felt like I was too tiny to, and I was really tiny. Credit to him, to be honest. Like, I was really small. I was really small. And he just sort of felt like he didn't feel comfortable or safe enough for me to go abroad and be alone on my own. And that was not something that was just not something he was comfortable with. And I don't think they were at a point where they wanted to also relocate because of a child's dream. They probably had other things to worry about. So he killed two birds with one stone, where he was like, I want you to go and learn values from Covenant University and do a pre-medical course. When you're done, we could use that and you would gain like an advantage when you're finally going to medical school. That was the plan.
Okay.
And I remember us picking the course together. Like, they're like, oh, which pre-med should we do? Like microbiology, biochemistry. I was like, oh, biology and chemistry. Like, that's how we picked, really. One of the things I always say is that I should have noticed that the biology wasn't complete, but the chemistry was complete. It's biochemistry. It wasn't biology chem. It was like, yeah, I should have paid attention to that. But yeah, we ended up picking biochemistry, and it was during my time at Covenant. I think during my IT, my what's that thing called? The internship period that I realized, I had a conversation with myself and realized that maybe this is not what I want to do for the rest of my life. Of course, I wasn't being a doctor, but it was a medical field. It was also facing human beings and like processing people's viral load for HIV, which I was even considering like, oh, it would be nice to be the person who finds the cure for HIV. That's something I used to be obsessed about back then. I had a separate note for it. There were these groups of people who existed who were immune to the HIV strain. Yeah, actually they were. And I always imagined that, oh, what if we could find like the gene components and make like transfer that to people? But the blood is such a weird thing. You can't just take blood that, like, do you get what I mean? You can't just take characteristics from one person and force them into another. I also used to think the idea of draining, that since HIV was mostly a bloodstream type thing, what if you drain the blood, most drop in the heart, and then you refill it with, like, you do a blood transfusion? I just come up with like really interesting ideas. That's how much I cared about it. But I couldn't deal with the idea of losing people. I think that that's not something I really faced. Like the idea of, I mean, yes, you want to save lives, which was the motivation I had back then. But what about the lives that you lose? Especially me, the way that I am an empath and I'm just such a feely person, like I'm an emotional person. Would I be able to live with myself and just manage those emotions? That was not something I could find an answer to at the time, not to include the amount of years it was going to take, the scale of impact. There's just so many factors at that point where I just felt there had to be other ways to save lives. And that's what led me to explore branding.
Oh, that's a big jump.
What is what happened?
From I don't want to lose lives to branding. Like I want to try and understand, first of all, like, but before I even ask this question, I'll ask a question about like the transition from, you know, biochemistry to branding. But I want to understand, you've mentioned like your size a lot already, like in this conversation. I want to know like how, like emotionally for you, or would I say like your trajectory in your life, right? Has that affected you in any way? And you know, like emotionally, like how did you feel? Probably like you're over it now, but in the past maybe. And like your parents constantly reminding you of the fact. Because every time you said it, it's like your parents are the ones telling you.
They always reminded me, or they had to. But to be fair, right? They didn't even have to remind me. There was always something reminding me. The smallest school uniform at the time wasn't my size when we were buying uniforms. There were just so many indicators. Like I've always had to slim fit my clothes or do like some alterations back then as a kid growing up. So that was something I knew. And initially, I first thought, this is that my daddy doesn't like me. Like these are opportunities and I can, like this would make me move faster in life. Why are you always initially? But later I could reason with him. Beyond just reasoning with him, I've seen also, and I don't know at what exact point it happened, but I also see that I do get underestimated a lot. I mean, I'm a woman, I'm tiny. Petite is the cute way they call it when you're an adult. So I'm petite, I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman who is experiencing the world globally, right? So I'm sure there are moments and spaces where people underestimate me. Also, maybe like based on age, based on like there are many factors where people would just they don't probably know. They know probably, I don't know, but their biases might come to fore and they will underestimate me. And I've somehow seen that as a superpower more than I've seen it as a detriment, because in many scenarios where I've gone to spaces and maybe a man doesn't want to listen to me, he keeps going over my head and speaking to the guy by my side who like he assumes is the boss and it's just speaking to that person. At the moment where I finally open my mouth, I notice a shift in the energy. There's spaces I've been in where maybe throughout the whole summit, nobody was listening to me, right? Let's say I was a member of and this happened to me really recently, actually, where about 12 of us were invited to a gathering of some sorts with like officials. And I was mostly quiet, or rather, I wasn't really volunteering information. I was making noise at the back. And the one time that I held the microphone, they started to invite me. They're like, oh, this is actually such an important factor. Would you mind coming to help us figure this out? And I was one of the only people who left the summit with a deal. So yeah, as in, and it's a big deal. So my point is, like, many scenarios, I get underestimated a lot. But it has been a superpower for me, because at the end of the day, when people are honest with themselves, they either just want to make money, save money, or make like huge impact. And if they find someone who can help them do that, irrespective of their gender, color, size, age, whatever, they begin to align, because human beings are inherently selfish. And if they see that you could be a catalyst for their success, they will align with you. So that has always been something that I find that happens. It's not like something I've planned, but it's also in some way in my mind a superpower. Maybe it helps them lower their bar, and then it now looks like I'm exceeding expectation when I'm just meeting it, you know?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much for sharing. I think I can
actually just reframe that and help everyone understand that every weakness you possibly have could become a strength. And I think it's first a thing of perspective, how you see it first in your mind, and your ability to handle the situation with confidence. Once you can, it can literally become a superpower. The people who have been crucified in a different environment, that, oh, you ask too many questions, you're too curious, but in a separate environment, that's what helps them thrive. You know, some people get like, oh, you're too tall, but when they go and play for the NBA, they're the right height. So just finding how like that thing that seemingly looks like a weakness is actually your advantage in the world is a superpower that I admonish everyone to explore.
Nice. Thank you. I remember like in Atomic Habits, right? James Clear spoke about this idea that you should just create the path that gives you the greatest competitive advantage, such that, you know, like, oh, if I'm X, if I have like ABC, right? And everybody expects BCD, like, how can I just pack everything, create a new path that allows people to now see, oh, yeah, we actually need this person, you know, at the end of the day, which sounds like what you did. Exactly. Okay, nice. So let me ask now, going back to CU and then the jump from I don't want to lose lives to branding. Like this is like there's a bridge there. I want to know like what the bridge is. I'm I'm reasoning there is a story or there's an experience behind it. If you'd like to share, please.
Okay, I think the most important bridge there was during my internship, right? Like, or rather after my internship, where I came back with a question, could there be more than one way to save lives? I find that at different inflection points, we're often faced with like a question that we often have to answer for ourselves. And that was mine. It's like, is there only one way to save lives? Like, if aren't there other people who are saving lives? Like, and I started to reframe my perspective around that. It occurred to me that the farmer who is farming is saving lives, because if there's no food, you can't, I mean, you first can make medicines, but even worse, you can't exist to be a doctor because you need to eat to be a doctor. And then just thinking about all the different ways, like business people are saving lives. They're giving people employment and that's providing for their families. And they're just different definitions, like as to the different ways that everybody's playing a part to keep each other alive and how we all just sort of fit into that. So I go back to school. I joined a public speaking club.
Okay.
No good reason specifically.
Is it Toastmasters?
No, it wasn't Toastmasters. We just had a public speaking club in uni then. I think our registrar had just created it. It was new. And at the time, I was friends with my registrar. So I didn't necessarily join because I wanted to speak better. It was just, registrar is doing something new and cool. And I like the people who are signing up for this. So I want to sign up too. It wasn't a... Yeah, so we were all like a group of people who were friends with the registrar and we just joined as in, let's see this cool new thing that registrar is up to. And compared to the other options that were available, it just sounded like a better use of my time, because other options were like, in CU back then, I think some of the clubs were the bakery club, the book store. Some people picked bakery because they get to eat free bread. And trust me, the bread was worth it. And it gives you an opportunity to go outside the school gate. People had like different clubs that they joined, but I was really, I think there was also a wood making club or something, but those were not like things I was particularly interested in. And some of them just sounded like very handy jobs. And I wasn't necessarily about to be stressed. So I I picked the public speaking club. And I think one time he asked us to come up with a proposal for something, for a business, and then eventually write a business plan, something like that. And I remember being part of my team and we did the proposal. And then I went on to like taught myself how to write a proposal, taught myself how to write business plans. And one of the big feedback, I think we're top 2. And one of the big feedback that we kept getting was like the marketing part of my business plan was really cool. I don't even know at what point, but people started to pay me for it. In fact, I had this contract with a guy who would ask me, like he would come up with different business plans to be written. And I was writing business plans with like for his business, for his company that he was running at the time. And he would pay me for it. So that was really cool. I was consistently getting paid. People within school as well sometimes would reach out to me and write business plans. But what really always stood out was the marketing part of the business plan. Because like when you write a business plan, you're literally putting yourself in the business scenario. Like, what does it look like if this works? And you're like, what are possible challenges you would experience? What are problems that your customers are solving? So as far back as then, those were things I was thinking about and creating business plans for. And one of my friends saw it. I was like, you'd really do well in branding. And I'm like, what's branding? So I now Googled what branding was. It wasn't very popular. I don't even know if it was Google or Bing at the time, but I searched but what is something? And I really liked what I saw. I liked that it was a good middle ground between actually running the business and, coming up with creative ways to put that business out there. It wasn't necessarily just marketing. It was like tied into the fragments of the business itself. It was how you did things, not just what you did. It wasn't just about looking a certain way to your audience. It was also about attracting them and keeping them. Also how you presented yourself, your identity, all of that. And I found that really interesting. I also liked that it wasn't too popular. It wasn't something people would look out for. And then my friend had told me, oh, there's a school for this. And I think she was going to attend or something. So off the top of my head, I was like, this is something I'm definitely going to do. And I think I wrote a book at the time. And that was the first time I made my first million naira. Sold the book because I was trying to gather money to. You
sold the book?
Yeah. Yeah. It was a whole different thing. But yeah, I wrote a book. I created that was the first time I incorporated my company that was a publishing house, so I could self-publish the book. And then went on, did NYSC. During my NYSC days, I was just like really, the money that I had made from the sales of the book, I redirected into like getting a place for my NYSC, and then, also still saving to ensure that I could afford the school fees. And I think the school fees at the time was like 250K. And it wasn't 250K per se. It was just that I got discounts I got a percentage off for coming up tops or something in one of the sessions they had given during the orientation, and also got another discount for paying in full. So everything together was about 250K. So I went on, studied in the school.
Sorry, just a question. Where did you do your NYSC?
Imo State.
Imo State, okay.
Yeah. So from there, I just shipped all my luggage to Lagos. Also knew that my dad wasn't going to be very ecstatic that his doctor daughter was about to do branding. So I knew I needed to find a job so that I could come back to him and be like, oh, I'm going back to school. Even if it's not like a medical school, it's a branding school, but I'm not going to be on my own. I have a job and I've thought this through. So I did my best. I found a job at a small firm. And then I think I got a job as a social media person because I was pretty proficient with social media and it was new and people were looking for social media people. And then I got that. I negotiated. I think I negotiated housing, but they obviously couldn't pay for the whole house. So the man had suggested that since I was relocating, he would contribute, was it 50% of the rent, and I would handle the rest. So I went back to my dad and said that they were covering housing, even if they weren't completely covering it. I mean, they were kind of covering it, but I also showed my dad my job offer, involved him as much as I could. And then I tried to tell him that if it doesn't work out in 2 years, I'll come back and we'll do what you want me to do. And we had that kind of agreement. Even worse was that I was turning down a job. I think there was a job I got back then. I got a job at the presidency. I also got a job that was also going to pay me 400K at that time. I know, I'm aware. Like out of school, 400K was a big deal. Yeah. And I was settling for a job that was going to pay me 120K per month.
Wow, okay.
So I was like, okay, I promised my dad in 2 years, if it doesn't work out, no wahala, I'll come back. We'll go back through the medical route. But thankfully, it worked out. I was one of the best graduating students from the school.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I also got a job offer at an agency. I was able to really just sort of build on the things that I learned. And I didn't have to take everything that I was taught theoretically. I could also contextualize it, pick the things that I agreed with, pick the things I didn't necessarily agree with, find new ways on the job to just sort of come up with my own principles. Not my own principles, but like my own formula as well. And that's how I got into branding.
Nice. Okay. Let me brag about you, right? So I remember, so when I was still in Abuja, I remember when, Instagram, I don't know, there was a point in Abuja that like Instagram started becoming so popular. I can't even remember when it was, but for me, the realization was around that 2015, 16 years. And I can remember like seeing your posts, right? Because you started early on with black and white. And it was just so different. I was like, who is this person? And then over the times, right, I now see, okay, Saddam King is also like black and white, and many more people are doing black and white, like as a branding style. And like the thing about black and white that I think people don't understand, because I do a bit of design, is that to get the quality of the image right, and to like, especially like for social media, is not that easy. And to be able to like keep the consistency of the lightning, etc., it's not easy. And yours, it was like seamless from like all the posts. I was like, she really puts a lot of effort and a lot of thought into every single post. So yeah, that's for you.
Thank you so much. I need to clarify that I definitely put a lot of thought. At the time, it didn't feel like I was putting that much effort, because it felt like, I don't know if you knew, but that was also the season where bloggers were getting popular, especially fashion bloggers. And then they would have all these like presets and ways that they would edit their videos and pictures.
Okay.
Back then, Picasa was the first popular one. I don't know if you know Picasa.
No.
Oh my God. That's how you know I'm an OG. I'm old. So yeah. But then the editing tool of choice was Picasa. Okay. And to be able to use Picasa, I had all these like effects where it was.
Oh, it's even an editing tool. I thought it was a person. Oh my God.
You need to Google it. It was back then. It was a thing.
Okay.
So it had all these things, right, that people would use where you would edit, and people knew how to edit, like have sepia tones. Yeah. So some people had sepia toned posts for a bit. And then after Picasa, there was a different one that came at the time that now made it even better, where people could have different types of presets that they would use. And bloggers were eating this thing up, especially fashion bloggers. It was just so much pressure. And it was like, there's a way that their feed would look so consistent and beautiful. Like this was before like Lightroom now became popular. They were born. And I just thought it was too much stress. It was too much stress to do that. I could have taken all your credit and be like, oh my God, I put in so much effort. No, there were people who were putting so much more effort than me. But the one thing that I resonated with, both on Picasa and, with other things that started to come up, was the black and whites, because it felt the most to me. It didn't feel like I was becoming somebody else or something else or turning down that was the space where I didn't feel forced, but even better, things just looked better in black and white. Yeah. I like that I didn't have to overthink if it was grainy or if it wasn't, if this color did not match my feed, or even like I didn't have to overthink my aesthetics. With black and white, it could just be consistent as long as I used the same black and white settings over and over again. And so that's how that happened. It was not necessarily fueled by intentionality. It was fueled by, there's a bit of intentionality there, but it was mostly laziness, consistency, and a tiny aspect of me wanting to just be myself.
Okay, nice. I think I have probably 4 more minutes, so I'm just going to try and understand your branding styles before and then your branding styles now, just so that because I've just seen so much development. Like even yesterday, I was going through your profiles again, and I've just seen. I don't know if it's style. I don't know if it's the content quality, but it has changed. Also, your website, by the way, your website is so clean. I did
it myself. Thank you.
You did yourself?
Yep. I had some coding skills from back in the day.
Okay. Am I shocked? No. But it's so clean. And the favorite aspect I loved about it, which is so useful at the end of the day, was your categorization of explaining yourself in 3 categories. There's a short one, the medium one, and then the long one, and then there's the image. It's so complete, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And for a branding person, I guess that is you. And if I wanted to hire somebody to do branding, well, just your website allows me to understand how thorough you are in providing a branding sense for a person.
Thank you so much. I think a big part of that is also that first, I'm minimalist, but I really, really love and value simplicity. I think that simplicity is really how we can pass on information without making it too cumbersome. I try to put myself in the shoes of customers, which is really what I tell people branding is about. It's not necessarily your logo or your font or your color or anything, but the ability for someone to be able to experience all of those things and still feel the same energy. Is like, if you say this is who you are, you come here, you tell me this is my name, but beyond beyond me being Blessing Abeng, there's so many aspects of me. However, every single moment where you interact with me, what is the emotion that you're living with? What is the renewed feeling that you're living with? What is the knowledge that you're living with? So I always say that branding is who you are consistently as your target audience interacts with you, knowing that you might not be for everybody, you are just for a specific few, and that is fine. And for those people, those specific few that you have chosen, you show up for them in a very specific type of way. So as I said, I value simplicity, I value minimalism, and just that systemizing things. And we started this conversation talking about like creating systems and repeatable formulas. We all want a level of consistency in our lives. We like that our favorite shows show at a specific time. We actually really like routine. And with branding, it gives you an opportunity to create that routine where when your audience interacts with you or experiences you on your website, they move to your Instagram and they don't feel like they're interacting with a different person. And then they move to your emails and they're like, oh my God, this is the same person. And there's that consistency that feels almost like home. When I was traveling one time, a friend of mine said, oh, if you want to make where you're going feel like home, just pick the things that are most important to you, the things that represent home for you. And just taking those things and moving them to a different location, I felt so at home in the different location because the things that really mattered to me were still there. So when people are approaching branding and they're thinking about branding, even as you evolve, just ask yourself, what is our value? How do we present ourselves? Like, what is our identity? How do we want to be known? But more importantly, who is our audience and how do we want to interact with them? Do we want to be their friend, their sister? What do we want to be to them? If we were human beings, what kind of human beings would we be? And how would we interact? I think maybe if you think about your longest friendships or relationships, there is a level of consistency that brings that safety for you to feel comfortable and safe in that relationship. You can do that with your business. You can do that with your brand for other people as well. So yeah, maybe that's how I've always seen branding as something that can evolve and remain the same and different all at once. But it's a space where people feel safe, feel seen, feel heard, right? Especially that seen, feel seen. Feeling seen is such a big deal. If I come to you with my problem, it's not enough for you to just give me a solution. I need to first feel like you understand it, which means you're the best person to be solving this problem for me. I can't imagine going to a doctor and I'm telling the doctor I'm having a headache, but the doctor is not first explaining to me why my headache might be a symptom of something else. The doctor is just dropping headache, prescription. Doesn't make a lot of sense. I need to feel that level of understanding, that you get where I'm coming from, that you see me, that you understand me, and I can feel safe with you enough to want to give you my money and anything else that I can possibly give. But yeah, in a nutshell.
Wow. For the listeners, you've gotten free consultancy in 5 minutes about branding.
I do even have a free excerpt of my course where I'm talking about how you can sort of think through setting goals for your brand. Because a lot of us say we want to build the brand of our dreams and we want to do this, I want to do that. But people never clarify what that means. If you get what I mean, like they're not clear. They say this is exactly what we mean by, like, when I say I want to be the brand of my dreams, this is what my brand of, like, the brand of my dreams mean. Quick story. I know that I'm over time, but quick story. I always give the examples of how a lot of times we talk about dreams and we talk about realities, and to us they're two separate things. Where dreams are things that we wish for, but we know that is a dream. It's not something that we're thinking to achieve now. It's a dream, right? But reality is what we've experienced, what like life has taught us is what we should be aiming for. So for us, when we say, oh, I want this, it feels like a distant future that may never really come as a dream. Versus, oh, this is my reality. When people say be realistic, it's based on the information that you've had, experiences you've gathered, things you've seen that have worked for people who are close to you. One feels closer than the other. And so we name that one reality, we name the other one dream. But there is a world where there is a bridge. where you can make your dream a reality, right? And that's really what I see branding as, is like, there's who we are now and there's who we want to be. How do you create a bridge between those worlds? So if, for example, I feel like this is my dream house, one of the ways that I can start to familiarize myself with that dream so that I can start to feel like a reality is to walk into houses that look like that and do open houses. Imagine myself living there. What kind of furniture would I have? Why won't it be good enough for me? What are the spaces that I would change? You know, like, I see a dream car, I go and I test drive it, because then I want to know if I really like it or if I'm fascinated about it from outside versus actually experiencing it and say, oh, these are the actual things I like about it. Maybe during that experience, and this is something that has happened to me where I've gone for like an open house and then I realized I can actually afford the house. Like, or I've gone to test drive a car and then I'm like, oh my God, I can actually afford it. Maybe there's like a payment plan or something. You get, it's like, oh, this thing,
you're shocked at the possibility.
It's so far out of reach, but actually it's within reach. I just need to make a plan. And that's really what makes the difference between something that stays a dream and something that transitions from a dream into a reality, where you can say, okay, yes, this is something that I hope for myself, but I don't want to just hope. I want to take actions and steps towards it so I can take progress every single day to move from point A to point B. So 8.1, 8.2, 8.2C, you know, that kind of thing. And that has been like a guiding principle for me. And so when it comes back to branding, you need to have clear goals. Goals are one of the ways that you can do that. And not just goals, but habits that go with the goals. Sometimes we set the goals, but we don't set the habits that we want to change. And so we just do it so that we can achieve it and stop. But if you say, I want to read a book a month, as opposed to reading the one book at a stretch, how about you create a habit where every single day you wake up in the morning and you read a book before you touch your phone. If you don't finish a chapter, you don't touch your phone. If you do that every single day, you will find out that you can read more than one book in a month. I tried it and I did 4 in a month. So like,
it shock you.
Exactly. So like, beyond going for the habit and beyond going for the goals, also go for the habit. So anyway, the free excerpt I made it free. It's part of a full course, which is called the Actionable Branding.
Is it on your website?
Yes, it is actually. I think it's when you click on the course side. But I made it free so that people can at least take the first step towards the brand of their dreams, where you can actually just set a goal and say, this is the version I can achieve in 1 year. This is the version I can achieve in 5 years. So this is what I ultimately want. But for this year, this is how I want to break it down towards the goal. And it's available for free. I can send you the link as well, so that even if you don't leave this conversation with anything, at least I could gift this one thing to help you take one step towards the brand of your dreams. Yeah.
You're such a good communicator.
Oh, thank you.
Like when you speak, I don't know, like I follow you as you speak. I don't know how to make sense. Like there are a lot of people when they are speaking, you just zoom out. But like as you're speaking, I'm literally like listening to every word and I'm understanding every word. And like I think it's because you're such a good communicator.
Thank you. That I should actually add that somewhere.
Yes. All right. My last question for you, because I know you gave me a time limit. Just the last one is like, what will you say like is the kind of brand? So again, you spoke about dreams. So like, what is the bridge? What is the future, perhaps the future Blessing Abeng that you're trying to get to, if you can share? And what kind of brand personality are you trying to become? That, you know, in the next perhaps 2 years, 5 years, we will see more of.
Okay, I try not to think about my brand as separate from me. And I think that the authenticity is really important, right? Even when I think one of the best foundations for any brand is truth. And that's why I'm always against like fake it till you make it advice that people give when it comes to branding. Because I'm like, why fake it till you make it when you can grow into it? Why not just grow into it? If you're at point A and you want to get to point B, how about you take incremental steps to get to point B, as opposed
to... But is it mutually exclusive?
Faking it till you make it or incremental steps?
Yes, because when people say fake it till you make it, they do the things that in quotes, right? Those like that persona will do.
Exactly. That's the difference. So if you're doing the thing that the persona should do, technically you might even be chasing your helper that you need for this particular season that you're in. Let me give an example. So
Okay.
if, for example, I like to use Emanuela of Angel comedy because they're one of my favorite examples.
Okay.
They could have decided that they will not create content, or they would find the best of the best camera and portray a lifestyle that they were not living. But they chose to use what they had. They probably got the best camera that they could afford at the time, but they were shooting within their environment. They were using the resources that they had at the time to build towards, and they were still talking about the goals and the dreams that they had. They wanted to get to a point where they could shoot things that were better. They wanted to get to, like, you could hear their dreams and whatnot. If you want to be a fashion, let's say you want to be a fashion influencer, and eventually you want to focus on luxury goods, but you don't even, like, you can't afford it. How about you start by being a fashion influencer with the thrift items that you have now? There are a lot of people who, when they started their career, they started by using thrift clothes. And they styled those thrift clothes so beautifully that when they could start to afford more expensive things, they would even come up with, like, this is a way to mix thrift and expensive stuff together. And you could see them transition. And when they became fully expensive, you could also see that change in their, what's it called? In their outlook. What I mean is, you might chase away the person that you need to help you, the people that you should be partnering with, because you're giving a false impression of yourself. If you can't afford the luxury clothes at the moment, why go and borrow it? I mean, if you have access to borrow it and you're being upfront that, oh, this is a rented item, blah, 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 you're being upfront about it. We at least know you're, like, it's rented. Do you get? Versus if you're pretending that you have all these things, but you truly cannot afford it. We see you in real life and that's not who you are. Imagine, like, Kim Kardashian telling us she's a fashion icon and then we meet her in real life and she's not. Or she doesn't really care about her body as much as she has been portraying. Like, it's so sad. You know, it's just such a sad place to be. It's like Ashake. I kind of feel like we grew with Ashake. Right? Like, you could see where he was. He's even Wizkid. Even when Wizkid was downing himself with all the blings, you could tell. You could tell. Even what he was singing about was different. You could tell. When AG Baby was going through a new transition, because there's a difference between rebranding and, like, you know, faking it. When he was going through a transition to say, this is who I am now, or this is who I want you to, like, I'm no longer Adekunle Gold, soft boy, but I'm now AG Baby.
Did you work with him?
No, I didn't, but at least I could appreciate whoever did. Right? I'm now AG Baby. You could tell the difference between AG Baby and Adekunle Gold, and you could tell the story. Back then, Adekunle Gold would post his Photoshop pictures. He would post, like, he would tell you those things, and they were crucial for his success because there were a group of people who will relate with you at that level, at that time. So don't discount the beauty of this beginning that you have. There's an opportunity there, right? There's no need to pretend that you have more than you have. There's no need. There are people who are going to meet you at the level that you are now and just relate with you so deeply. And as you transition, just communicate that transition. We will see it. The people that you start hanging around would be different. We will see how that would change. We would see the way that you've stopped dressing a certain way. For me, for example, I've always valued simplicity. And I've always been lazy. But my laziness looks different now, because I have access to more tools, probably more money to afford more tools to help encourage my laziness. In fact, maybe I could be like, oh, now I could use AI tools for XYZ type of things. I've always been interested, just that the way that I express that interest might evolve. So anyway, coming back to your question, I'm so pro growing into it, and I'm always learning. I'm always finding interesting ways to show up for others, show up for other people's dreams, and figure out. But I'm currently in a phase in my life where I want to prioritize sharing the things that I know, giving the knowledge that I have away, just sort of,
Thank you.
I know, you're welcome. So I've been in my sharing era, and it has looked different per time. There was a period where I was really, really active on social media. There was a period where I was more active on Instagram than I was on LinkedIn. But I found that I wanted to write longer form, so I started to write more on LinkedIn. There was a period that I started to interact more with my email audience. At this current time in my life, I've been focused more on being in person, being physically present, especially like trying to also globalize the knowledge that I have beyond just sharing with a very like Nigerian community. I'm like, okay, there are other people who really want to hear this. So I am accepting invites. I am traveling. I am teaching consistently. I was at Forbes. I was invited to New Parsons School of Design. I was at Yale. Like I'm just sharing what I know with the hope that it could be and it ties back to my TED talk where I talked about contribution. So I'm in my contribution era. Yeah. At the moment where that changes, you all will know. But guess what? Before I announced it exactly 1 year ago. So I'm in my contribution era. And I'm a big fan of communicating with my audience. I'm always consistently telling them, this is where I am right now. This is what I'm up to. The moment where that is going to change and transform, everyone is going to know. I'm also in an era where I've been thinking about the role of branding for government beyond just businesses that I've been focused, businesses and people. There's a phase in my life where I focused wholly on small businesses. There was a time where I went from small businesses to big businesses. There was a time I started to focus on HNIs. But at this particular moment, it's been really weighing in my heart, like the role of branding and communication, especially because there is just this huge gap, especially within African countries, where the citizens are not carried along with what the government is doing. The government is probably trying their best, I don't know, but they are not communicating with the people. And then there's just that disconnect. The people don't trust the government don't trust the people. And that's something good communication and branding can fix. Also, like with international relations as well, how the world sees Africa versus how Africa sees itself, all of those things. It's possible to fix those things with branding and communication. And because branding is not something that is superficial where you can just plaster cement on it and paint it, you actually would have to do the work. Yeah. So that's something I've been really thinking about. Like, is there a way that I can contribute, not just to Nigeria, but like to different types of government, especially for the underserved? How can I play part in that? That's something I've been thinking about. When I have an answer, I will share. But it's something that's been weighing in my spirit.
Oh my God. This is so interesting because I remember reading there's this report, probably you've come across it, which is like niche, like I think is it Brand Finance that publishes it, but it's literally like they rank nations by their brand, right? And of course, like it's more social, soft power dynamics, the methodology, right? Yours is a bit different in the sense of like perception. There is perception there too, but I think if you can do this for Nigeria, I think the value gains is going to be so much more, especially because Nigeria is already at a position whereby just a little bit of here and there will actually like make things much, much better. Because people already see us as very important in Africa. People already say, oh, we have good people coming out. I mean, bad too, but like a lot of good people coming out. So it's just really putting in intentional efforts into doing something.
Yeah, and I think that's how everyone should remember that branding is just about being intentional. That's it. Putting intentional effort towards what it is that you desire to become, towards your goals or your dream self. That's all it is. That really is it. So you summed it up perfectly. Really, really perfectly.
Thank you. Your COO post also blew up on LinkedIn.
Oh my God, my OOO post, right? I remember I got like so much comments from different people across the world. It reminds me how much like language is different, cultures are different, people are different, and perspectives are also really different depending on age, where you're from, experiences. It's so big. That's why you must know your target audience. You must know.
Perfect. Blessings. Thank you so much. By the way, for everybody listening that went to Faith Academy, apparently Blessing's sister went to Faith Academy Goshen too, which was interesting to me. But thank you. That brought a lot of I just felt like we are connected somehow. I know not directly, but somehow. I was supposed to go to see you, by the way, but like I can't. After Faith Academy, I did not have the stomach to do Covenant University.
My sister did though.
Okay. She's strong. Oh, she's very strong.
Very strong. I say that to her too.
All right. Thank you so much, Blessing. It's such an honor to have you. I will look for you if I see Nigerian's brand improving somehow. I'm going to look for you and I'm going to say, Blessing, you have to discuss again. Like something's happening. Are you behind this? Like what is happening?
I mean, even if I'm not going to probably be behind the whole of Nigeria, I'm just trying to find spaces where, like, as we said, incremental steps, right? So spaces where if I could make a difference, no matter how little, and even if I'm not the one directly doing it, maybe I could even share my knowledge for free. So other people who are in the positions to do it can jump on it and help. Because the country is for all of us. When you go out, the way that you're treated, honestly, would remind you how important like nationhood and, the value of your country is. We all benefit if it works. Yeah. So it's not about like who is in power or who is not. It's just about figuring out how can this country be better for us and get leverage that we need to be able to even negotiate things that are even bigger. And it's not just for Nigeria. Really, I'm open to doing this for literally any African country that cares or feels like it's something that they need. So yeah, in whatever little way I can.
It's just in my head. I don't know why Tony Elumelu just comes to my head. It's like scaling up Tony Elumelu to a nation, something like that. Because he has just perfected it, and I think he has so much influence in his foundation and just how. I mean, of course, as a banker and as a businessman, he's very credible. But I think like there's just something about his brand that allows everything he's doing just look like gold and just move forward instantly. But I might be wrong because I don't know behind the scenes.
I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know if directly it would work for like governments just because of how diverse it is. But yeah, I mean, that's an interesting way to think about it.
All right. So wait, last question. Do you speak any more languages besides English?
I am trying to perfect my French.
Tu parles français?
Un peu.
Ah, comme tu apprends?
Like, how am I learning?
Yes. Oh, yes.
Different ways. I've had a tutor one time.
Okay.
I went to a school one time for it.
Okay.
And then, I think the most useful way to learn French is to actually just put yourself in the space. Like travel, go to spaces where you're forced to speak it, no matter how foolish you look. Yeah.
Valid. Very valid. All right. That's all. That's all.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that I was able to stay till the end.
Yes. Thank you. And in the future, I'm just going to take the notes after listening to this episode again, and all the things you said you want to do, I'll just check up probably next year this time. And I will say, how far, Blessing?
He'd asked me. Maybe I'll tell you that I tried, it didn't work out. Maybe they weren't ready. Maybe they were ready and it worked out. Or I found an advisory to be part of and share with them. You never know, right? Fingers crossed.